there is a thing sometimes when you're a fan, understanding the difference between this thing is bad and this thing is not for me.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Okay, so it's the Friday of C2E2.
Yes.
You and I spent the day at the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo at McCormick Place today.
We did, yeah.
I would like to start this episode of this podcast angrily berating anyone who asked for Detective 1000 today.
There was a lot of people. I didn't even look at all the emails yet. Did you handle all this?
Yes,
Thanks.
I
dude.
did. I handled all those emails. And it's dickish of me to complain about people wanting to add a $10 book to their polls.
We've talked about that before.
But this is a book that we gave people so many chances to order.
So many. Front counter displays, emails. The midnight release event was in our email for like 2 months.
Yep.
Everybody who subscribes to Batman got an email about it. So yeah, the number of people who the Friday before release were like, hey, that Detective 1000, let me get a copy of that.
And it's extra steps because we can't just add it to the list. These are special orders.
Yeah.
And normally, if there are people that I know that listen to this podcast who I'm going to say something bad about, I'll temper it. I don't care who knows. I don't care. I don't care if people...
You're just mad.
Yeah. Because of how much extra work, and mainly because I had to do everything last minute as I came in, but I'm an hour late to this recording because of everything I had to do in that regard,
True.
Especially an email that says, hey, is this too late? Can I get all the covers?
That's funny.
So I responded with, you can get all the Decade covers. If you want the Midnight cover, you have to come to the Midnight release.
Yep.
And I didn't sign them up for the blank cover because when people say all the covers, they never mean the blank one.
They never do, which is why we don't include it.
So I didn't sign that up. We also had an email request for a thing that I have no idea what they're talking about.
Okay.
I'll leave that for you, and I'll tell you more about it later.
Thanks.
But it's a thing that I don't know. I literally don't know what they are, and I spent like 5 minutes trying to look it up, and then just said, forget it. It doesn't have to be answered right now.
Sure.
Yeah, Detective 1000, which, we had to place our orders early on this book because of all the fancier covers and everything.
We did indeed.
And people are adding it the last second.
They are, yes.
I don't understand it. I mean, yes, we did highlight it in the email and mention, hey, here's all the covers.
Yeah.
But the number of, can I get this cover? Can I get that cover?
Uh-huh.
However, I would like to point out that the person that asked for all the covers didn't do it in that, hey, we were offering these for a special deal, so he's not going to get that.
Sure.
But is there a way to make sure you know?
Is it this one that you had a problem with?
Yes.
I only know this slightly. Basically, the cover of the next previous catalog, one side is an image thing promoting the final issue of Wicked Divine.
Oh, the one that hasn't come out yet.
Yes.
Because I looked through all of the ones that already existed and every possible image plus that came out to find none of them.
Yeah.
I never thought that it was the one that was coming up.
Yeah.
Why would you want... All it's going to be is the cover that's the cover of the book.
That's true.
I'm taking a drink. You have to fill.
Okay. Yeah, I guess Image is doing a big deal about the final issue of Wicked and Divine coming out in July. What are we ordering for now? June.
It'll be the June one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Product shipping in June. Yeah, there was just a thing. I was going to try and pull it up real quick. On a comics news site. I can't remember which one. They were showing off the cover to previews that includes
you'll
the
notice
Wicked and the Divine.
You'll notice the wording of that email is incorrect. In fact, the book that he's asking for is not the book that it is.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? No, because you're looking at something else.
I don't know that I 100% know what you mean. Your phrasing is confusing to me. I don't understand.
Just like the email.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if we want to get into specifics, so I'm not
Go ahead.
necessarily... All right, fine. He asked for image previews,
Yes.
which the only image previews is Image Plus, which hasn't existed for like a year.
Yeah, isn't around anymore.
Yeah. So, in fact,
did I
what
see
he
that on?
wanted was just previews.
Uh,
Look, I believe you.
No, but I know I saw it, and I can't find a single place where I saw it at. Was it maybe something that came up?
Well, you were looking at the email earlier about the variant cover.
Yeah, no, but I know I saw a news item where they were showing off that previous cover, and now digging through both CBR and the sites I subscribe to, I cannot find a single listing for it.
Why do you think a publisher would make a big deal about the final issue? Like, have that be the cover of their... if they're lucky enough or pay to get the cover to previews,
Yeah.
why would you want to highlight the last issue of a series?
I guess maybe if there's going to be a bunch of different covers to it. So this is the cover to previews. And it might be an original image, which may be why someone who's collecting every single Wicked and the Divine cover would want this one, because it is a unique image for the previews cover.
I would be very surprised that's the case, because it never is, because it's advertising a book that you can buy.
I mean, it generally isn't, but this one in particular, which has as its backdrop the cover, the McKelvey cover to every other issue of Wicked and the Divine, and the way it's formatted, that's not comic format, that's magazine format.
Well, I mean, they could have just... we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We're speculating, but
Because this is...
I would be very surprised if that is an original cover just for previews. That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, I guess that's why they're doing it and why they're making a big deal about it it is an original cover. I'm going to go to Jamie McKelvey's Twitter feed to see if he can maybe shed some light on this. No, I do not want to log in or sign up to Twitter. Hey, you know who tweets a lot? Jamie McKelvey. Jamie McKelvey is a frequent tweeter. Very frequent. Okay, so yeah, this basically, Jamie McKelvey says on Twitter that as we don't want to reveal the final cover, Matt Wilson, the colorist, and he rustled up this image to go on the front of the catalog.
I don't get it.
The cover image that's being shown off.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. I don't understand why they're doing that.
I don't know. They really wanted to, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a second thing. Was I supposed to?
I mean, this is usually a conversation.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
I'm very tired.
Okay.
Why are you tired? I was at C2E2.
How was
What did
C2E2,
you do?
Patrick?
I don't know. How was it for you?
I don't. You've got a list of stuff there, so I thought maybe
No,
you were
I'm
going
writing.
to.
I'm writing what we've talked about.
Okay.
To make the episode notes easier for me. This stuff here is a previous episode.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So C2E2 thoughts?
I didn't have any, to be perfectly honest with you. I was. This is going to sound really harsh, and I don't mean it to, because I honestly like C2E2 as a concept, and I think it's a very valuable show for Chicago to have, and I like the people at Reed Exhibitions who put on the show.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is this where you now say you don't want to sell tickets anymore?
However,
This feels like the exact setup for the ticket part.
However, at my point in my life, I don't know that I get anything out of comic conventions anymore. I spent about $13 at the entire show, which was all spent on lunch. I saw a lot of people, but it's a lot of people that I see normally. We got to talk to some people that we've maybe just met recently or don't get to see that often. But, I mean, the 90% of the show floor I have zero interest in. If I had a complaint, it would be the lack of publishers that exhibited this year. Maybe I missed some, but it seemed very, very, very light on, like, premier level publishers.
Well, one of the problems is any of the West Coast publishers, they were just at Emerald City last week, and next week is WonderCon in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to go to Chicago in the middle of those 2 weeks.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff that I was used to seeing from last year, publishers like Oni, publishers like Boom, publishers like Image, weren't there. And there wasn't really much in the way of substitutes. Like, there weren't other publishers. Like, Zenescope was there, sure. And First Second had a little corner booth, and HarperCollins, I think, was maybe there. But, I mean, Marvel had an area, but Marvel's area was just their standard...
hype machine.
Yeah, like Activation-style stuff, where it's all about Marvel Studios and Marvel properties, not necessarily about Marvel publishing.
There was a point where we were near the Marvel booth, but not in it. And Dal said, "Oh, don't look at the Marvel booth." To which I took as, "Oh, there's something horrible happening, I have to look."
No, what I was saying was, the Avengers Endgame trailer just ended. Please don't look in that direction, you might see it again.
So I looked and I saw the logo, and he's like, "Don't look!"
Yeah, I just said. DC had a booth, but it was just DC Universe, the app. Like, it wasn't DC Publishing, it was just, hey, you can get a $8 a month or whatever multimedia app. So that, for me, as a comics-interested person, I find that stuff very disappointing, and it's a problem that C2E2 has had any number of times over the years, and it swings in different directions. Like you said, a lot of it is down to the scheduling of this year's show. It had to move up for a variety of reasons, and that put it basically in a position where a bunch of West Coast publishers, which is almost all of them now, were either unable or unwilling to participate in the show in a exhibition level. They might have panels, and their artists will be represented in Artist Alley, but the giant Image Skybound booth that's been like a fixture of the front of the show the last few years, gone.
Yeah.
It's just not there.
Yeah.
Again, that's disappointing. For whatever reason, I don't want to point fingers or place blame, but as an attendee, it is disappointing. What's left of the show are, again, things that just... mostly is just me as a fan is not in a place to enjoy them as much anymore. I'm old. I've been to a lot of comic conventions in my life. I would hazard to say that at this point I've been to too many. In that it's too many for me to be able to go to a show like this and really like feel any sense of joy out of it. I like seeing people that I haven't seen in a while, and I enjoy having discussions with people that I either don't see regularly or don't get a chance to really sit and talk to them. But even a show like this, like it's not a sitting and talking to show. Like if you are seeing someone in Artist Alley on Friday, which is not the busiest day, you can have a short conversation with them, but there's a point where it's like, I am keeping them from making money. I have to get out of here. So you have that kind of ticking clock in your head. All of the vendor booths and stuff, I co-own a comic shop. I have more or less unfettered access to all of that stuff. And as a fan, I like to think I'm very knowledgeable about the things that I'm a fan of. So the idea of going to a show like that and seeing a mass-produced product that I've never seen before and never had access to, few and far between. Like, I can go to sites and order that stuff. I can stock it for the store. So I'm not looking for anything, and the people in Artist Alley, like, I don't need any more prints. I don't have the budget for original art. I don't really care that much about autographs. All of that stuff is just not for me as a comics fan anymore. So... yeah, I mean, even a one-day show like this, there were points where I'm just like, why am I here? I'm not the audience for this anymore. I've done enough of these. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a booth we passed that was doing $1 variant covers, and it was packed with people digging through boxes and having stacks of books.
Sure.
And I just remember that, like, that was you when you were a kid.
Yeah, but it was never variant comics.
Well, I know, but
they didn't exist back then.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean digging through the boxes and filing books.
For sure.
But this show isn't set up for that anymore. And
There were a bunch of back issue booths, though.
Yeah.
Dark Tower brought all their stuff. A bunch of different...
oh, yeah, you saw more of
Comic
the
Cave,
exhibitor
I think, was another
floor
one
than I did.
Yeah, like, there's... I was talking to somebody about this who's exhibiting for the first time at C2E2. And one of the things that I think is really a point in C2E2's favor is that this is their 10th year, I think, they've been doing this show.
Yes, this was their big 10th anniversary year.
In the early years, they were kind of all over McCormick Place.
Yeah.
Each year they'd maybe be in a different building or a different part of the hall. So each year there was a sense of like, where is everything? I don't know where anything is. Every year was anew discovering like where are the booths at, and you would maybe book a booth and be like, I don't know if this is a good area or a bad area because I can't make heads or tails of this map. The good news is the last like 5 years or so, everything has been in the same hall, in the same space, and they've mostly just been tweaking kind of how things lay out. You know, maybe the block is now called the Loop, or, you know, Image has this big booth, but now Image doesn't, so somebody else has this big booth, or you know, Bluefin is here, but now they're over here. But like the little sections they've created, the kind of the flow of the show floor has been the same the last 5 years, and I think it's really helped give the show like a kind of reliable identity. You know how much of everything everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like this is the anime section, this is the video game section, this is
the cosplay section,
the cosplay section, the back issue section, the exhibitor section, the artist alley section, all that stuff. As a returning attendee, I think is really comforting because you kind of know where to go and where everything is, and you can make sure you're seeing the stuff that you want to see. And I think it's a credit to them kind of figuring out the best way of doing the show. Now, unfortunately, it's just a matter of, again, like publisher support is definitely a thing where I'm like, gotta get better at that. Like, I know it's tough because there's only so many weeks in the year for publishers to exhibit at shows, and that's a huge expenditure. It's a lot of people out of the office for, you know, a bunch of days, maybe having to work weekends when they don't normally have to work weekends. And, you know, you may decide some years some shows better than others, but it's just a shame that a big market like Chicago cannot get on a publishing level, basically, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, IDW, Boom, Oni, like the list goes on. It was a lot of publishers that just did not have any presence as exhibitors on the show floor for publishing.
And I understand that shows like Wizard World or the upcoming Comic-Con Revolution aren't necessarily a place you want to spend your money because you don't know what to expect. But C2E2 has to be one of the largest shows in the country.
Yeah,
there was a point where it was the biggest behind San Diego. I don't know if that's still the case, but it seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, and Read Pop as an organization clearly knows how to put on comic shows. They know how to do panels, they know how to do programming, they know how to do all that stuff. So it's, yeah, I mean, as someone who's a comics fan, not even a retailer, but a comics fan who lives in Chicago, it's kind of disappointing that the publishing element is not better represented at a show like C2E2. And I gotta assume that's not for lack of C2E2 and Read Pop in general wanting that stuff there. They're an exhibitor, they're an exhibition company that I think better than a lot of people in the convention space understand the balance of what you need to have at a show to really make it a well-rounded comic show. You need artist alley, you need some celebrity stuff, you need vendors, you need cosplay, you need programming, you need publishers, you need different kinds of exhibitors, like all that stuff. I think they really do get that. It's just a matter of, I wish there was some way that they could more reliably get publisher support for what they're doing in Chicago. I would really like that. That would be number one on my wish list for C2E2 2020. And some of these publishers have exhibited there before. The Marvel thing is the Marvel thing. I don't think Marvel as a company has any interest in exhibiting as a publisher. I genuinely don't think. Having not gone to New York Comic Con and not really paid too much attention to what they do at shows like that or San Diego, I feel like all of their publishing interest is just, we'll put on some panels.
Yeah.
But there's not going to be like signings at the booth or, promos for War of the Realms or whatever. They're just going to do stuff where it's like photo ops with like, this prop from a movie, or we're going to show trailers for the movies and cartoons and stuff. Like, that's just how that booth gets paid for. That's how it works.
When I was young and going to shows, it was mainly panels. It was the exhibitor floor, but panels.
Sure.
Now I don't even have a concept of the panels. Like, we never get, as retailers, we don't get the books, the programs. We could go pick them up,
Yeah.
but they're not, like, handed to you when you go in or whatever. Or
I'll be
I don't
honest
know if
with
anybody
you.
is anymore.
I do look at the C2E2 programming for either Friday or Saturday just to see if there's anything where I'm like, I would check that out. And again, this is a your mileage may vary. I'm only speaking for myself. I don't ever see anything I want to do. The problem is a lot of the publisher panels are things where it's like, there will be news and it will be updated on 3 different comics websites. You will read all about it there. So going to a panel for news drops is kind of pointless. You can save a ton of time just reading it on your phone 5 minutes after it happens.
You used to go to the Chicago Comic-Con, and DC would give a presentation of what they have coming up, and they're talking about the next 6 months.
Right.
Not just the most recent previews.
Right. And the other panels, I mean, there's stuff that's specific to fandoms or different creators giving panels. The specific fandom stuff, it's not my fandoms, so I don't have a lot of interest in that stuff. And the stuff that's more like Q&A oriented, or a creator or group of creators talking about projects, again, just not interesting to me. It's like reading interviews and stuff on different websites or promotional things. I don't care.
I like reading the wraps-ups of those, because you could read that in 10 minutes and not have to sit through the hour conversation.
Yeah. And in general, it's stuff that I don't... I guess I'm so deep in the industry element of it and getting promotional stuff all the time, constantly, that frankly the idea of going to an hour-long panel where it's more of that is like, I don't care. I will get more than enough emails about this project over the next 3 months that hearing a creator sort of vaguely describe it or answer questions from the audience, not into it. And again, I'm only speaking for myself. When I went to TFCon, which is way more of my own personal fandom than comics-related stuff is, I would absolutely sit through a panel with James Roberts where he's talking about his work on the Transformers comics over the last 8 years. Like, that was incredibly important to me, and I was very interested in what he had to say. But there's really nothing like that in comics where I'm like, or at least, honestly, maybe what C2E2 had. Like, maybe there would be something where it's like, you know, if Xander Cannon was doing a thing on Kaiju Max, I'd be like, you're goddamn right, I'm going to that. Sure. I want to hear every element of what that guy has to say about that book. But a lot of what's there are just things where it's like, I don't care that much about that book or that creator to go sit through an hour-long panel.
This is the first year in a couple years that I haven't been on a panel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, the last couple panels I've been on at wherever, I don't do a lot of prep work for it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's not why maybe that's why I'm not on panels. No, I think I do fine. Like last year, I had to impersonate Jerry Dugan.
You did.
And I thought that was
Successfully.
fine. And there's just not that level of engagement with the people that we know, because a lot of those publishers aren't here.
Yeah.
I think it's important for us as challengers to be seen at the show, whether it be by customers or creators or people who've heard about the store or what have you.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of, hey, it's Challengers guys kind of thing.
It's true.
We were recognized by somebody by our voices, and not from this podcast, from Graphic Novel TK.
Uh-huh.
Which, that's cool.
Yeah. It's a better... I like that podcast a lot. I had a very fun time being on that show.
Yeah. And I think C2E2 does a great job of, A, promoting the show throughout the year. Mm-hmm. They have events in Chicago every couple of months to remind people that it's coming up, to get people excited. And
they do advertising all throughout the city, CTA, other places.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a lot of, like, what a lot of people would term, like, civilian outreach, where it's not just, like, street teams going to comic shops, which they do. But they will put stuff on exteriors of buildings and inside buses and, you know, train platforms and whatever else. Like, I saw a lot of different ads for C2E2 in and around my neighborhood, which was great.
They also do a lot of programming throughout the day and night.
They do.
A whole bunch of different off-site parties. There's so many things, so many organizations that are having competing events, and there's things everywhere. And I think that might be the same way it's been at cons forever, whether it be fans organizing meetups or official convention-sponsored things.
Sure.
But that's never been a thing that really appeals to me as a fan. And while this was the 10th C2E2 and they had a big 10 in the logo, I don't know what made it different than other shows or a special 10th anniversary.
David Tennant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jesus, you don't get it? Come on, man.
I don't.
Thought you were a fan.
Who would you say were the biggest comic guests?
Well, judging by lines, Art Germ. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That, like, we were even hearing stuff at the Diamond Marvel breakfast that, like Art Germ was one of the few variant cover guys that was called out as, like, important. And we'd heard stuff from DC before that when he was doing the Supergirl variants, like, it was a huge bump. Stores were ordering, 5 or 10 copies of the regular cover and ordering like 500 copies of a variant. It was absurd. So it shouldn't surprise me too much that there is a fan base out there for Art Germ, but Jesus Christ, the line that he had was huge. And people were bringing, like, boxes of stuff not for him to get signed entirely, but they had a lot of stuff of his to get signed. The other big guess, I didn't see his area, but I'm pretty sure Hickman was set up.
Yeah, I didn't see it where it was either.
Yeah, when we started going through Artist Alley, it was early on Friday, and we started in the back section, which I don't want to say there's a popular section and an unpopular section, but like the bigger mainstream names felt like they were in the back.
You mean toward the end of the alphabet?
Yeah, well,
or to the beginning of the alphabet, because we started at row A.
Yeah,
that's what I mean by alphabet.
Yes, the like A to D section felt like it was more like big current mainstream names.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it was like first thing in the day. So a bunch of those tables did not have creators sitting at them.
Yep.
So I can't say how popular certain people were, because there was no line for them because they weren't there yet. Yeah, I don't 100% know the entire guest list. When we walked by Jenny Frizen, she had perpetually a line of like 5 or 6 people that was always getting replenished.
Yeah.
Of people getting prints and getting covers signed. Yeah, I don't 100% know who else.
Katie Cook always has a line that wraps around.
Yeah.
They're smart to give her an end cap, and they put her at the very end of the zero. Mm-hmm. So there was nobody behind her.
Right. So her line could
line could wrap around. Yeah, like she's somebody that we didn't even make eye contact with. She was so busy. Mm-hmm. I was happy that a lot of our friends had people most of the time. Yeah,
again, like there were people that we wanted to talk to, and we had to frequently like disengage to let them deal with customers.
Yeah, which we are always happy to do.
Yeah. Again, they're there to work, so we want to make sure they can do that.
I wonder if Hickman's actually set up, or he's just in there for the Marvel announcement, and then he'll do stuff.
Maybe. It seemed like he was there for a few days, so that would seem weird to me.
But I don't even remember passing a table that said Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, it's the thing. I don't remember seeing one either, but I was pretty sure that he was listed as an like all-weekend guy.
When I think about C2E2 pasts, and the ones where we actively met creators we hadn't met before and pushed the store and passed out business cards and collected business cards, I don't know that anything ever really came of that. But I feel like some of the people that we met for the first time this year, I feel like those have potential to be people that we will do stuff with in the future, or who will have some presence at Challengers in the years to come.
Yeah, hopefully. There were definitely some fun people we met that I would love to be able to do more stuff with in the future.
Yeah, I think we will definitely do something with Leanna Kangas at some point.
Yeah.
I do not remember Alex's last name.
Pecknadel?
I always want to say Parkland. That's not wrong.
No.
Pecknadel?
I think so.
Okay. Those are two people that had come into the store, and then we saw on the show floor, and were extremely nice and extremely kind to the store and the things they said. Alex came back and introduced us to Ram V.
Yes.
And Ram has a bunch of stuff coming up. And it's funny that we talked to a lot of European creators and foreign creators, and their countries and our countries are in such political turmoil that they may not be able to come around anymore.
Yeah.
Or like Alex might be stuck in England if depending on how Brexit shakes out.
Right.
I think he did enjoy talking Brexit with us because I didn't think he'd expect us to know.
To follow it like that?
Yeah.
They got another month to try and figure this thing out.
They got a month?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's what the EU came back with. It was
Okay.
like a month. You got a month.
They
to
asked
figure
for
this
June 30th and they got, April? That's pretty great.
out. Something like that.
And they're doomed.
It's not a great look, for sure.
No.
I'm looking through the C2E2 guest list, and I'm up to the L's, and it's a lot of great names, but I don't, again, when we were walking through, I wasn't seeing lines because it didn't seem like a lot of these people were there.
Yeah. Pepe Larraz is an artist I like now, but I don't have any reason to meet him because I'm not looking for autographs, and I don't just want to waste his time.
Right.
Passing someone like Michael Golden. Michael Golden is a person that I have so many of his books from when I was young. He did so many influential comics, and they meant a lot to me. Over the years, he doesn't have the best reputation as far as interacting with fans or doing commissioned work.
Well, you should have patience.
I should definitely have it because patience is a viru. That story is always in my mind.
Sure.
But seeing him with nobody at his table, I felt a little sad for him. But also looking at what he had, it's nothing I wanted. It's a print, he's still selling a print that I already own.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would want to have. I would want creators like that to have what Jose Luis Garcia Lopez had 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is a stack of affordable original art, a current sketchbook.
Yeah.
I'm happy to buy current sketchbooks from artists I like.
Yeah.
That is my favorite thing to buy. Most people don't have them. Jenny Frison had a ton.
She's new in this year.
Volume 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me as a fan, it's weird because for the most part I'm a fan of the work, and while I could be a fan or a follower of a creator, there's not usually a point in my brain where I'm like, I would love to meet them. That part of it doesn't really enter in for me.
Sure.
So a lot of things in Artist Alley to show where it's like, I really like Michael Golden's art, for example. I don't want to print. I don't need a sketchbook. I'm not in the market for original art or a commission. And there's really nothing for me to just going up and saying, hey, Michael Golden, I'm a person who exists and I like your artwork. I don't want anything from him in an interaction. Last year, the only person that I really wanted to go out of my way to see was Tula Lotay. And this year, I think you and I talked about it, and there was really nobody besides maybe Art Adams who wasn't there.
Yeah.
His table was there, but he wasn't there.
Yeah, did you overhear whoever was manning his table said, here's all his work, and they were selling covers for $4,000, $8,000.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to know, what does an Art Adams cover go for now? And they go for about as much as I thought they would, which is well into the 4 figures, nearly 5 figures.
But the person at his table said, oh, we have this original artwork and these prints. He may not be here this weekend.
Yeah.
Didn't say definitively.
No, and
just may not.
And looking at the website now, he wasn't listed as a cancellation. There were a few people that they had listed as a cancellation. But yeah,
Dennis Hallam.
Dennis Hopeless Hallam, Michael Marici,
really?
Ken Lashley.
Oh, I wonder where Michael Marici
Mirka
canceled.
Andolfo.
Huh.
Which, it happens. I mean, they have a lot of people in Artist Alley, and there's always going to be a few people who just, for whatever reason, scheduled but can't make it. It happens.
I mean, we stopped by and saw Rachel Bard. She's got a new book. She was just at the store. She was on the podcast last week and the week before. But she had something new. That was great.
Totally.
And we saw some people that have or will be exhibiting at Women's Comics Month. Mm-hmm. Although already have exhibited by the time this episode comes out.
Correct.
But there's still another week full of creators.
Yeah.
And it's good talking to those people.
Right.
And for us talking to the people that we always see, like Ryan Brown, we don't see Ryan Brown as often as we want to.
That's true.
So it's fun to see him at the show.
I think I see him more than you do at this point, but I could still bear to see him more.
Yeah, right? And so we do chat with people. I do feel bad. There are a few people that I big-timed. Mm-hmm. There was a customer who used to shop with us, who was a customer, but moved away. And he's in a different state. and he's in the show, and he comes up to say hi to me as I'm talking to Jason Aaron, and Jason Aaron is about to leave to go to a panel, so he doesn't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about one specific thing, and Don walks up. I'm like, "Hey, Don, how are you? It's good to see you." And I immediately had to turn back to Jason because that dude is in a hurry.
Yes.
So I didn't mean to big time him, but I did.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was one more I don't remember. And there were plenty of times where I'm at someone's, like I was at Eric Jimenez's table.
Yeah.
But then somebody comes up and starts talking to me, like it was Aaron Brown, an old coworker of mine. So I turned to talk to Aaron, and by the time I was done with Aaron, we had kind of, like, the natural flow of people moved away from Eric's table, so I never got to really say anything more than hello to him.
There was one customer where we were standing at a creator's table, and they were, like, the customer was kind of next to us and saying hello, but it was at a time where I was trying to deal with a very strange, troubling email that was store related, and I was just kind of hopefully low-key freaking out. So I was trying to be polite and you know, answer questions and follow the conversation and be present for it. But I almost wanted to say, like, I can't do this right now. Please let me deal with this thing that is kind of important that I need to fix. I wish I wasn't saying this right now, but I'm saying this right now. But that was all in my brain. So I probably came off slightly disinterested when it was not disinterest so much as it was distraction. But I felt a little bad about that because it was someone who kind of stopped what they were doing at the show to say hi to me. And I tried to, again, engage, but I could have done a better job of it. I felt like I'd underperformed. At
the same time, I was talking to Cullen Bunn, and I don't know. I mean, I love that guy. He's one of my favorite people in comics in general.
Sure.
But sometimes, and it's just the nature of his relationship with Brian Hurt, who was not at the show.
Correct.
Where it's nothing but giving each other so much shit, that somebody came up to get books signed, and Cullen signing, and I turned to the person and said, "Is he paying you for these?" And Cullen just said, "Don't be a jerk."
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I am. I'm being a jerk. I'm sorry. There's no place for that.
It's a tough thing to do where you're kind of in that mode of like, just friends hanging out. And it's like, no, but the person who's here is not a friend. They are a fan and they want an experience with the creator.
Yeah.
And it can be difficult sometimes to remember to not be a participant in that. You're not there for that. That's not what that fan wants.
Yes, but I gave that fan a story. He's like, he'll be able to tell people forever. I met Cullen Bunn, he was so great. And this guy was being a jerk, and Cullen's like, don't be a jerk.
Yeah. Cullen Bunn stood up for me to a jerk.
That's right. I mean, it wasn't making fun of the fan.
No. So overall, would you say you had a good time at C2E2?
I did, but it was a thing that I didn't have any expectations to going in. Like, usually there's some people I want to see, but I mean, obviously I want to see a lot of people, but there's usually like a name of a talent I hadn't met before, or somebody that gets me excited, like a Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, like an Ngozi from Check Please.
Cannot remember her last name for the life of me.
Ngozi from Check Please.
Never got this anymore.
It's in the other part of the library.
Oh, okay. Crumbs.
So there wasn't anyone specific. I'm like, oh, I want to go see this person this time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I did. There were some people that we hadn't met before that we talked to. And actually, there was two people who we wound up talking to and getting along with really well that I mistook for someone else.
Yes.
Which is why we stopped at their table.
Yes. Which maybe they were like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you talking to me like this? Yeah, I really like C2E2 as a show, as a thing that exists in Chicago. I really like it, and I appreciate what they do and all their hard work. There is a thing sometimes when you're a fan, it is understanding the difference between this thing is bad and this thing is not for me. Like, that's a thing that I feel like a lot of fans nowadays can't rationalize. Is, like, when you're reading a comic, and you read a comic series for long enough, you can start to feel like it's not working for you, and you can interpret that as they're doing something wrong. Like, they're not making the comic the way that I would want them to, or they used to, and that's why it's not working for me, when really it's just a matter of, you've experienced as much of that as you can in your life. Your tank is full, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to put more in, and it's not working, and that's just a matter of, you are older now. You've experienced as much of this one thing as you can. So it's okay to disengage from it and let other people enjoy it. There are other people who are getting a ton out of this, comic, movie, TV show convention. And for me at my age, I've been doing these shows since I was basically like 13 or 14 years old. A long time. So maybe this is the thing where I don't do C2E2, or I don't, maybe more importantly, don't have such an expectation of it that it's going to deliver something other than just a work environment,
I mean, part of it, I think, is that we don't necessarily have to cover the entire floor.
No, I'm maybe this was the year that I realized I don't need to do this part. Like, we can just do Artist Alley, and if there's publishers, and maybe,
Yeah, I still think there's value in that moving forward.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe a better idea next year is to have
a plan?
Yeah, well, I was going to say like a more concise plan for something like Artist Alley, where instead of walking up and down every single aisle and feeling slightly exhausted by the end of it,
we write down who we want to see and
yeah,
go.
we make a list.
Yeah.
We take a look at this, like, you can find that stuff online probably, and like highlight and go, this. And be more judicious about it. Because just walking the Artist Alley section is like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, that's a
definitely.
lot. That maybe.
And that's with us only stopping, really 10, 15 times.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe next year...
Out of hundreds of creators.
Yeah, right? Maybe next year either make a list and stick to it, which I don't love necessarily, because I kind of like walking down aisles. You never know who you're going to run into.
Right, and there's a lot of last-minute additions who aren't on the website or advertised.
Or be smarter about our time, where, like, instead of doing 4 hours of this and 4 hours of that, do 2 hours of Artist Alley. Do A through M as aisles.
Yeah.
Then go do something else for an hour or two. Like, walk around the exhibitor area, walk around some of the sales floor. Then get lunch, then come back, and then do the second half of the artist floor, End the day doing that. Do another 13 aisles or whatever. So that way it doesn't feel as much like, by the time you hit letter N, you're like, Jesus Christ, am I only on N? Which we out loud said today.
Yes.
Because that's a lot. That's too much. It's asking too much of us as people to do that much Artist Alley in a row.
But right there, it's the difference between doing it for enjoyment versus doing it for obligation. And we didn't always do it this way, but now we feel obligated to do the entire Artist Alley.
Yeah, and I know we've said this last year and probably the year before, but it does feel sometimes a little bit wasteful when kind of all we're doing is, for the most part, seeing people we already know and saying hi.
Yeah.
When there could be an element of, like, why not go to Russell Donnerman's table and go, hey, we're from Challengers, we're big fans of your work. If you've got a project coming up in the future and you'd like to come out to the store, we'd love to have you, that kind of thing.
What is War of Realms, is it?
Yeah.
Is it a crossover with Jeremy Hahn's image book?
I don't
War
know.
of the Realm?
We'll find out a week from Wednesday.
Jeremy Hahn, who commented that my beard isn't as mighty as it used to be, and he's absolutely right.
He noticed that it was trimmed.
Yeah. Yep. And this is with 3 months of growth since it was trimmed.
Still not as long as it used to.
No, it's nowhere near what it was.
No.
And I
Ashamed
lament it. I'm not ashamed of it.
You are.
Just want it to be better. It will be.
Yes.
Should have never trimmed it.
Well, now you know.
I know, and I still have urges to trim it because it's growing in
Sideways.
weirdly. Not sideways. It's doing fine.
Laterally.
It's doing fine. But, I mean, I needed to make sure it was at least presentable.
Sure.
Since I have, for the first time ever in my comic-going life, purchased not one, technically 3 photo ops.
Yeah.
And never having done this before, I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. And everything was incredibly smooth. Everything was very professional. Everything was fast.
Yeah, maybe too fast.
I mean, there's a point where I emailed you or texted you and said, this is going to take forever.
15 minutes later, you're like, I'm done.
That's only because it hadn't even started. Once they start pulling you in, it is very quick.
Oh, yeah.
In fact...
I thought I was going to have way more time to kill. And then I texted you a photo of a wrestling figure to find out, because I have a tough time remembering all the figures you're looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this one? And you're like, no, also I'm done.
Yeah.
Jesus, okay.
So, I had read somewhere online that you get like 7 seconds with the creators when you are doing the photo. An autograph you get more time with, but a photo is what's a better keepsake?
I guess, yeah. I mean, it seems like a lot of people do both. Like, they'll do the photo op, and then they'll take that photo and get it autographed.
Yeah, for example, the guy who's right in front of me for today's photo op walks up and is like, hello again, because he'd obviously just done a previous thing.
Oh, okay.
And I'd always said that I would never do a photo op for anybody unless it was David Tennant. Mm-hmm. Then I tried a few years ago at Wizard World, and I bought a David Tennant photo op, then he canceled. So I didn't get it. And then he and Matt Smith were going to be at C2E2 this year, so I bought the double doctor experience, and then Matt Smith canceled.
Yeah.
But I, in theory, have a David Tennant photo op tomorrow.
Fingers crossed.
But since I already had one, I'm like, hey, the AEW guys are going to be doing a photo op. I've never met Kenny Omega.
Yeah. And you're there on Friday.
Yeah.
When they're doing their photo op.
Absolutely. Sure. So I said, I'll go do it. And here is my entire interaction with those guys.
How's it going? Good. Good to see you. How are you, sir? How you doing? How's it going? Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Have fun today, all right? You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Obviously, you couldn't tell who was who. You could tell who I was.
Yes. I recognize that voice from podcasts, yes.
Exactly.
Did they say that? Did Matt or Nick say that?
No. Matt and or Nick, I have met before. They've been to Challengers a few times. They were on an Art of Wrestling, and then Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian brought them to the store, and they signed the wall before. Kenny Omega, I've never met. I did not say, hey, you guys, I'm from Challengers. Do you remember me? Obviously, you know.
Right.
I just said, hey, how's it going? They said, hey, how's it going? Ready? Okay, next. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the experience. And I didn't even want to try to waste their time. Like,
No.
I had envisioned
Because there's a
handing
line.
business cards and saying, if you guys ever need any comics, take care of you, blah,
Oh,
blah,
yeah,
blah.
no.
There's not there for that.
They're not at their booth, you know?
Yeah. So I did it. I like the picture. I don't regret having done it.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to learn how Epic Photo Ops does their business. It was pretty great because by the time I got out, my photo was waiting for me, and they scan your ticket as you go in and as you go out.
Mm-hmm.
When they scan it on the way out, they immediately, if you ordered a digital copy, which I always do,
Right.
it was in my email before I stepped out of the curtain.
Wow.
Like, they're that good at what they do.
Very efficient. Good. I mean,
and I was worried about, like, the backdrops being, like, C2E2 logos everywhere.
Sure.
No, it's just a solid, it's just a
gray background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's because that stuff, since it's done by a separate company, they have
Yeah.
their own backdrops. They want it to be something
right,
that's...
but I'm glad it wasn't, like, the Epic Photo Op logo
Sure.
everywhere. Yeah, this is not a new thing for me. I'm not going to be doing photo ops all the time.
You don't have the itch now?
No, but I wanted to see how it was done, and I can see why people do it. There were a lot of immediate supply places right around the exit, like, hey, buy a frame for your picture, do this. No, this picture isn't going up anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm not hanging it in my home.
The photo ops thing is much like the meeting creators at a show thing, where it's like, there's not that part of my brain that needs that interaction. So, like, paying money for an autograph or paying money for a photograph, I don't want me in any photos. Why would I pay money to have me in a photo? That's ridiculous. That seems like the biggest waste of my money. What if I did a photo op where it's like, just take a photo of this celebrity that I like. I'll just have that. Like, I don't need to be in the photo.
Then you can just look on the internet.
Right. Which is what I can do. So
But you know that you were at that picture being taken.
Yes. That was a photo that I had taken of David Tennant.
That's right. But
I understand that there is a huge market for people to meet celebrities and have photos with celebrities and have that moment, that interaction. It means a lot to people. I get that.
It was nothing but Bullet Club and AEW shirts, and
in your line, yeah, I'm sure.
There were 3 lines at least that I could tell that was for these guys because of the clothing, and there were 2 guys talking between 2 different lines.
Yeah.
What are you most excited for Double or Nothing? Who have you seen this person? This one guy who was this huge wrestling fan. The first card he ever saw was All In.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not even a year old.
No.
Wow.
Apparently, they did announce or tease All In 2 at Sears Center,
Okay.
which we'd heard from a while ago anyway.
Yeah, it
but
seemed likely. Yeah.
Sears Center seems way too small for them now.
No, I don't relish trying to get tickets to that goddamn venue again.
Yeah, yeah.
Knowing it will sell out by the end of me saying the word sellout.
They're already gone.
Yep, that's it. That was it.
That was it.
Missed my chance doing this podcast.
So yeah, that was a new experience at conventions for me.
That's cool.
And
I'm glad it went well. Like, I'd hate for that to be a thing where it's like, I went to C2E2 and I did this photo op thing and oh my god, I wasted hours of my time. Because for me, as someone on the outside, I frequently see these huge corrals of people. And it's like, how do you pay money to go to a show and maybe airfare, maybe a hotel room, and then just spend the day in these corrals? But it's like, they're not. They look, for me, from the outside, but like you said, they move so fast.
Yeah.
That, I mean, you got there 5 or 6 minutes early, probably.
Yeah.
And you were done in 15 minutes. So, like, the entire experience, including getting there early, was less than half an hour.
Yeah.
So I think, like, that changed my whole arithmetic on the value of those events, considering the time spent doing them. Like, it makes more sense to me now. Some of the autograph stuff, I think, maybe is still... Those lines are too long. Like,
but you also get a better personal experience.
It just takes longer, though. Like, we passed by that Summer Glau line and that John Barrowman line.
And that Paul Rudd line.
They were so... I didn't even see the Paul Rudd line. Jesus, they were so long. And that stuff... it's not fast. They're going to have to sign something, and that's going to take some time. And look up, look down, say hi, answer a question, whatever. I don't know how quickly they shoo people out of there, but probably not as fast as the photo line.
Yeah. What I liked about the photo line stuff, too, is they say things like, if you don't want your lantern in the picture, take it out for the picture, which I'd already taken mine off,
Sure.
but I like them telling people. And they have... When you go in, there's a little waiting room where they have shelves for bags.
Oh, okay, so you can just drop your stuff.
Yeah, and they have a security guy there watching the bag.
Neat.
So if you don't want to worry about your bag, you drop your
Which
put your bag on a
you
shelf.
definitely don't want your bag full of pops or whatever in the photograph that you're paying $100 to take.
Yep. So you just then you just come out, take your bag,
Neat,
go get your photo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool how efficient and well oiled that part of the show is.
It's just such a weird thing because these things can usually be expensive. And it's not something I've ever done before, but I did. I'm happy that I did it.
Yeah, there was someone who was in the store earlier in the week, and they were complaining a little bit about this year's C2E2 because they didn't feel like the celebrities were important enough for a 10th anniversary show, and I kind of couldn't engage with them because
I know exactly who this is.
Yeah, so I just said all I could say was I'm sorry you're not excited about it. Like, that part of the show doesn't have any impact on my anticipation for it.
Yeah.
But honestly, looking at the list, I'm like, I don't know, man. They got Paul Rudd.
That's pretty big.
They got the two main actors from Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, you know?
Yeah.
They got David Tennant. They got The Elite. They got, I mean, on and on. They got what felt like a ton of people.
Who's the wrestler with the umbrella?
Marty Scurll.
Whoop, whoop!
People love their whoop whoops.
I just needed
to
set up. Of course, I know it was Marty Scurll. I just needed to get you to say the name so I could.
Mary
whoop, whoop.
Poppins. They love their whoop whoops. Yeah, I felt like from someone who is not 100% dialed into the celebrity fandom culture, I felt like C2E2 more than delivered on that part of the show.
Yeah. I mean, every year can't be Chris Hemsworth before Thor comes out, so no one knows who he is.
But how about Paul Rudd after Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp and Cap Civil War, but right before Avengers Endgame comes out? Like, how about that? I think Paul Rudd is a pretty big get. Like, and I mean, the cast of Clueless, that's not, again, my childhood or my fandom, but I recognize that Clueless as a movie means a lot to people, so getting, like, 4 main actors from it is a big deal.
And they would get Alicia Silverstone to put Instagram posts where she's holding a sign that says, like, only 3 more days until C2E2.
That's great.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they have a good relationship with their people.
Yeah, I'm sorry that this person who was complaining in the store didn't feel like the show was giving them the celebrities they wanted. But
this person likes meeting the sexy ladies.
Sure, which, I mean, you know, your interest may vary, but I thought there were more than a few attractive women that were
definitely
taking part in the celebrity aspect of C2E2.
So we were lucky enough to run into, not once but twice, I don't know what his title is, but he's way high up there for Reed Pops, Lance Fencerman.
Mm-hmm.
And
you probably have an email that you can't access right now that says exactly what his title is.
Right? Uh-huh. And we were chatting multiple times, but I feel like he hasn't gotten to interact with you a lot because, like, for the first couple years of the show, you weren't there.
Sure, that's true.
And then for a while, we never saw him.
Yeah.
But we're talking today, and he just stops, looks down, and goes, "You're funny."
Which I never know how to take stuff like that when someone calls it out, where it's like, thank you, but also, like, do you think I'm performing or something? Like, is this a thing where, is it coming off forced or performative?
I think it was coming off unexpected.
Okay.
First, you were the heavy.
Yeah. I was. Well, was it the heavy? Is that what he called me?
Hype man.
Hype man. Thank you. Yes. Because I frequently, for people who have not encountered Patrick or myself at a show, there are people who will recognize and engage with both of us. You know, customers of the store, people that we've both known for years. But frequently, there are people that just know Patrick, either from other experiences, or seeing him at shows, or interacting with him online. So there's elements of the show where it's just someone saying hi to Patrick, and I'm kind of in the background.
I mean, I think it goes both ways, but it is heavily in my favor.
Right. You're more of a social person, and again, the social media aspect of it allows you to be more in touch with certain people that maybe you don't see at a show normally, or don't interact with in person.
Yes, but a lot of people don't know that it's just me.
True.
Lance did.
He did. So if it's something where I can contribute something, or if I feel like I'm in the conversation, I'll try and participate. But there are frequently...
And then I'll have to say, don't be a jerk.
Yeah, when you big time me.
Yeah.
And you just like put your hand right on my face and push, which is, I feel like, way too much.
I want to point out that I just put my hand up to your face today. I did not initiate contact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But occasionally there will be times where it will be someone who is talking to you, and I don't want to force myself into that conversation. That's not reasonable for me to expect. So I will kind of just hover a little bit. I don't want to be weird about it. I don't want to just be like over your shoulder, but I will be in the vicinity enough to know when the conversation has ended and we're moving on. But I don't want to be in the conversation because I'm not required for that. So, yeah, I mean, if Lance has not been in a conversation with me, he might think of me as just the guy behind Patrick, you know? Okay, that's fine. I am all right with that being how some people think of me.
The assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah, sure, which again, fine.
But I think he went away from that conversation having a newfound respect for you.
Well, that's great. I enjoy talking to Lance, and again, as much as I may have things where the show I am not the target audience for anymore, through no fault of theirs, only through fault of the way I've lived my life, I do like their show, and I do like their commitment to Chicago as a venue. There have been up and down years as far as how Chicago has embraced C2E2, and there may have been a point 6-7 years ago where it would have been like, I wouldn't blame Reed if they wanted to kind of cut ties on this, but they... You know, they dedicated resources and employees, and they made sure that this was a show that was important to them and was treated in a way that allowed it to grow and hopefully become a better version of itself. My only real note, again, was just publishers. I'd love to see more publisher support in the front of the show. There have been years where it's like, why is the first thing I'm seeing the M&M activation or a Geico trailer? Like, why that?
Yeah.
And there really wasn't anything to that level this year where I was like, this is out of place at the front of your show. But again, it just felt like it was missing bigger booths dedicated to comics as a medium instead of comics as...
an afterthought.
Well, I was going to say like comics as a media layer, you know?
Okay. That was a nicer way to say what I said.
Sure.
But again, through no fault of theirs, I'm sure they reached out to everybody like they always do.
I can't imagine that the people who have been running C2E2 for the last few years and have been involved daily in putting the show together are unaware of who the top publishers in the industry are. I gotta assume that we don't need to tell them, have you heard of Image Comics? You know? But like you were saying before, you're sandwiched between two West Coast shows. It's going to be hard to pack up all of the West Coast publishers and their employees and show stuff and say, go east.
I think a big indicator of what it'll be like if you didn't go to C2E2 for me will be Star Wars Celebration. This epic Star Wars convention that is coming to town in just 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is.
Something like that.
It's in April.
Okay.
And initially we had reached out to Reed and said, do you want us to sell tickets for that? But ultimately they don't need us to.
No.
Because they sold out immediately.
Yeah, I don't know where this one's going to be at in McCormick Place, and I don't 100% know all of the moving parts to it. I would be shocked if Star Wars Celebration is not a much larger show than C2E2.
Which is weird for me to think about, but it's not a thing I engage with. And when Lance had mentioned it to us, and I'd said, yeah, I'm not a Star Wars guy.
Yeah, C2E2, I don't know their demographics. I don't know where all their people come from. My feel of it is it's a lot of people from the United States, largely from the Midwest, but maybe from other parts of the country. Star Wars Celebration is an international show. People will come from literally all over the globe to wherever Star Wars Celebration is. It draws in a very, very large Star Wars crowd.
I think that's weird because it's not as if there's so much new stuff. But hey, I'm glad people have an outlet for the thing that they like.
I don't know if this is confirmed, but the rumor is Oscar Isaacs might be there this year.
I don't know if this is confirmed, but I hear there's a Star Wars movie coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure because I don't follow that fandom that closely, but I'm sure the smart money is on there will be a Star Wars Episode 9 trailer dropped sometime over Star Wars Celebration. I don't know that for sure, but it feels pretty likely. It may not be something that non-Celebration fans get to see right away. I remember that when the year that Rogue One was coming out, I'm pretty sure they showed a Rogue One trailer to the crowd that did not go online until a little while later, and even then it was not completely the same scenes.
Hey, now all the C2E2 talk, we forgot to mention why we were there so early.
Why were we there so early?
Because we had a retailer meeting with Diamond and it turns out Marvel.
Well, not meeting so much.
Well, that's true. Meeting would imply back and forth interaction.
Yeah, it was the Diamond Retailer Appreciation Breakfast. Diamond does a lot of different kinds of things for retailers over the year. Their main thing is the Diamond Retailer Summit. This year it's taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada. But at other shows and times throughout the year, they do retailer appreciation breakfasts. So one morning for C2E2, Emerald City, Keystone Comic-Con, Baltimore Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, there will be a morning where retailers can pay to attend an event. It's a paid event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pay to attend the event. A publisher or series of publishers maybe co-sponsor it. Those sponsoring publishers get a little time after Diamond does their presentation to present their stuff. This year it was just Marvel who is the publisher sponsor of the breakfast. So Chris Powell from Diamond went up first, talked a little bit about how 2018 went, what 2019 has going for it, changes they're making to some of the tools they offer retailers.
One of the
stuff
things
we knew about.
That I thought that they were changing the retailer search function on the website. Mm-hmm. No, it's on the Previews World site for everybody else, not for us.
I guess, or maybe sometimes it's maybe elaborating to folks who are in attendance, like, you don't know you can do this, but you can do this.
Yeah.
Like telling people, hey, the search function on the retailer side, you can just say, like, show me what Donny Cates has in stock. And you can just show all of the in-stock items that have Donny Cates as a creator on it. But the Diamond thing was sort of brief. Chris said he ran long, but it felt like it was a very short presentation compared to years past. Maybe that's just because it flowed well. I don't know. The things they went over, I don't know that we can talk about necessarily, but it was nothing that was groundbreaking. It was just
mainly stuff we know, and something specifically got me mad about it.
Uh-huh.
A function that I want us to have. And they're like, oh, we're doing this and then this. It's like, but we can't use that.
Right.
And you won't let us use that. And
was it the COD thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of their aspects of us being able to auto pay
don't
work for us.
Well, they said, I mean, they're rolling out COD, though.
But we don't... That's for UPS delivery. That's not for pickup at a
they
site.
mentioned that, but there's no way to do...
I don't
think
so.
the COD thing will be able to be for pickup customers as well?
I got the impression that it wasn't.
Okay.
Because they were specifically talking about negating those UPS fees.
The drop-off fees.
Which we don't get.
But I wouldn't assume that it's not for pickup customers because I don't think there's enough pickup customers for them to feel like they need to say that.
Okay.
Like, picking up at a drop point is not something that most accounts do.
Regardless, I don't want them taking it. Mm-hmm. I want to give it.
Right.
And I want
you don't want auto pay.
I want us to have that function.
Yeah.
I'll look into it again, but...
And it may be worth just either sending an email to Chris or doing something through the suggestion site saying, this is how we do it now. This is how we want to do it with the tools that you're creating. You know?
Yeah, well, that's okay. I emailed him years ago about us being a beta tester for a different thing, and he's like, yeah, and then never.
Yeah. So after the Diamond stuff, there was a brief break, and then CB Cebulski and someone from Marvel's sales and marketing department, who is not David Gabriel.
Peter.
I don't remember his name. I wouldn't even guess.
It's Peter something.
Okay. Went up and gave a presentation that I was not a huge fan of.
First, they talked about some announcement they were going to make, and we were told by somebody that was sitting with us in the press that it had a list, like, oh, they're going to have 4 announcements. Mm-hmm. And then they said, if there's time, to take questions. Mm-hmm. Then during their presentation, they kept talking about how we don't have time. Then there were no questions. And then Chris Powell gets back up and says, well, we ended really early. Yeah. So I feel like this whole Marvel, like, we're out of time, we're running, we'd
love to, but...
That's BS. And the whole thing did end extremely early for retailers.
Yeah, I mean, we had enough time to not rush out of there and still hang out with people outside the breakfast area.
Yeah.
To just chit-chat for a while.
There were 2 videos from Donny Cates about upcoming stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very, very brief. Just, hey, I'm sorry I can't be there, but we're doing this thing. It's going to be great. I don't feel that retailers need that kind of hype.
No. It was a little disappointing that the first thing they talked about was, like, Spider-Man Hunted, which already started. It's already going on.
Yeah. And then the next Spider-Man story arc.
Yeah.
We can't tell you about it. It's a brand new villain. You fans have been asking for.
But the main thing they were emphasizing, and disappointingly, crushingly disappointingly, the stuff that got the best reaction from the retailers in attendance was when they would talk about variant covers. Like, that shit broke my heart. That retailers in attendance are so nonplussed and immune to content as anything to be excited about, that when Marvel's like, here's a series we're doing, dead silence. Oh, and here's the Art Germ variant cover, and you hear these murmurs of, ooh. It's a cover. You don't care about the comic at all?
I mean,
you care about the cover.
That comic at all.
Yeah, but I don't care about the cover either then.
Yeah.
If I don't care about the comic, I'm not going to care who's doing a variant cover. And it's just...
Can I make one counterpoint to that?
Sure.
Who does Nancy now?
Olivia James.
Yeah.
I think Olivia James doing Look at the Divine cover is a big deal. Yes, I'll be a hypocrite for saying that. Fine.
No, that's when somebody says, that's just the exception that proves the rule.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the fact that I'm excited about that proves that how little I give a shit about variant covers in general. And it's just... I wish it felt like a Marvel Comics... Like, there was a thing that right off the bat, they're like, hey, we're having a great 2019. We've had 4 books this year that sold over 100,000 copies. I leaned over to the person I was sitting next to and went, that's a bad measurement. If they've only had 4 comics so far this year that have sold over 100,000 copies, they should have at least, 2 a month.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that you have had months where only one of them, and I don't even know if there's a month where maybe none of them. I think the one I heard was that, there was a month where Batman Who Laughs was the only book that sold over 100,000 copies.
Wow.
For the whole industry? That's pathetic. These are not things to crow about. They are warning signs that you are doing something incredibly wrong. And they announced some series where I mean, look, I don't give a shit about Absolute Carnage. I don't care at all. As a fan,
No.
zero interest.
No.
There is an audience for that, and I understand that, and that it'll do fine. It's not gonna set the store on fire. It's not gonna be something where we're doing midnight releases for it, but it will sell well. I'll take a book that's gonna sell us 50 or 60 copies, even if I love books that were selling 100 copies. 50 or 60 is fine. Whatever. I think as a fan, the Infinity Warps annuals that Al Ewing's doing sound like a lot of fun. I like Al Ewing a lot as a writer. I like the Infinity Warps concept. I think it's fun. I wish there maybe weren't 5 or 6 annuals coming out in 1 month.
Yep.
That are each going to cost like $5, probably. That feels like maybe a short-sighted cash grab.
Do you think this is a bad idea if they were just to have an Infinity Warps series?
I'd be okay with that.
Instead of each issue be...
A different warp.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a lot of maybe their best ones, so I don't know what would even be left at this point between Infinity Warps, the 2-issue series, and all of the various characters that got 2-issue series.
I mean, I've been advocating for them doing a relaunch of What If being a regular series.
Sure.
As opposed to events. You could just make these Infinity Warps What If issues.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's some fun to be had there. The History of the Marvel Universe thing by Mark Waid and Javier Rodriguez. I don't know if there's a gigantic audience for that, but it sounds like an interesting concept.
It does. It sounds like it's going to be extremely thoroughly researched.
Yeah, but unfortunately probably very niche. Speaking of what could be very niche, the idea of an all-new Kurt Busiek, Alex Ross Marvel's short story as a one-shot. I mean, for me as a longtime fan, sounds very cool, and I'm very much looking forward to fully painted interior Alex Ross artwork, which is something we don't really get anymore. The thing I'm curious about that I don't know if we'll find out before the book releases is how many pages is this short story?
Yeah.
Because I can very much see this being like a $5 or $6 book where the lead story is about 12 pages long and then there's a ton of bonus material.
And do you think it'll be in the same format as the previous ones, like the acetate cover?
Probably not, because the annotated ones they've been releasing have not been. I don't think they're
right,
interested in
but this is technically Marvel's 5.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but they don't really seem to do that sort of cover anymore. I don't think they're in that market. There was maybe something else that I can't remember. They talk more about Silver Surfer Black, but it was nothing we didn't already know.
Right.
They didn't show any like new pages, I don't think. So yeah, it was a series of announcements from Marvel where it was more or less getting someone reading previews out loud, but a previews from 2 months in the future.
Yeah.
And it struck me as stuff that's, again, where it's like, all right, that'll do okay. I really want more than okay, though, and I want reactions to the industry that are not just more variant covers. And that absolutely feels like Marvel's whole strategy right now is like, is there a weakness in the line? More variant covers. That'll plug that hole. Like, yeah, for a month. That's not a growth strategy. That's just living paycheck to paycheck. Like, I wish I felt like there was more stewardship, I guess, from Marvel instead of just month-to-month reactions.
Well, you would need somebody who's clearly setting the tone for the future of that company, and there is no steward.
No, I really wanted CB Cebulski to be a guy that revitalized them, and after over a year now of him being in charge, I'm not seeing... Like, he talked about how, like, last year it was, getting back to the core characters, and this year, I can't remember what his phrase was.
Make more Marvel?
Yeah, make Marvel more or something, like, and I don't know what that even means, and all of it just feels like, the same but different, like... These are empty phrases that mean nothing to me as a retailer, and as a fan, it's just like I don't know. Like, it's very comics retailer to declare the sky is falling in relation to Marvel Comics. Let me be blunt about it. Marvel Comics is still the number one publisher in the industry, and they are 100% the number one publisher for periodical single issue comics at Challengers. Absolutely,
yeah,
every week, pretty much without fail. If DC ever takes it for a week, it's a total fluke. Like, they released a once-in-a-lifetime book, and Marvel forgot to release anything. Like, it's that kind of imbalance. So, me complaining is definitely from a position of, they're doing okay, but Jesus Christ, they should be doing so much better. Granularly, we see it, or I see it a lot when I'm doing final order cutoffs every week, where you can see steady drop, sometimes slow, sometimes not so slow, across the board at that company. Like, books that launched not even a year ago are like a very troubling fraction of what they used to sell. And when you're seeing books that are being promoted, and maybe this is going to be coming out after Marvel announces whatever Jonathan Hickman's project at Marvel is. So it's entirely possible that all this will look stupid when they announce that Jonathan Hickman is going to be writing a weekly Uncanny X-Men series starting in July 2019 with, you know, the best artists. You know, it's Jerome Opeña, it's Nick Bradshaw, it's Trad Moore, it's I don't know, Olivier Coipel. It's on and on. Like, it's all of your favorite artists, and it's the whole cast of the X-Men. And it's going to be, you know, a book that we sell 100 copies of every single week. And holy shit, they, you know, revitalize the engine of Marvel Comics. So if that happens, or has happened by the time you're hearing this, disregard everything I've said. Marvel clearly knows what they're doing. Short of that, I'm just not seeing things announced where it's like Silver Surfer Black will maybe do well for us. We're very excited about that from an art level. But it's not... It's a miniseries. It's like a 5-issue miniseries. Like, that's not...
sustainable.
Anything for us to build off of. By the time we've, you know, gotten ahead of steam on it, things over. And then we got to start all over with another project. You know, the books that should be selling continuously and at a very high level, the franchise titles, are not connecting with people. They're not doing well consistently. You know, books like, I mean, literally anyone who's got a movie, Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Captain Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy's doing okay. It's only 3 issues in, so it's hard to tell, but Uncanny X-Men, you name them. There's very little at that company that you can point at and go, that is consistently selling. There's very little that's kind of punching above its weight class. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that is...
okay.
Cap does not nearly as well as it used to. Like,
right,
a month ago, it just... I don't know, like...
Iron Man never got to that level, even with a Dan Slott run, which I think is good.
People between 7 and 8 suddenly went, no thanks. Which is a big number of people in one issue to go, I'm done with this. Black Panther is, once again, hemorrhaging readers.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is not just a Marvel thing. I don't want to get off on a whole thing because we're already very late into this episode, but DC's Justice League comic, which should be a thing that everybody who buys DC Comics reads. It should be selling around what Batman sells. For us...
Especially since it's Scott Snyder.
Yeah, for us, does not. Less than half of what Batman's selling. Like, that's ridiculous. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'd love to see Marvel be able to create hits again. I don't know why they're not doing it. I'm sure they'd like to. I don't know why they are making maybe not great decisions in their publishing line, but I think it's a combination of maybe lack of stewardship and also very short-term thinking continuously that is kind of taking up the oxygen enough that they can't really create a hit. You know, I wish Al Ewing was doing a major project instead of writing 5 annuals in a month so that they can hit their sales goals for a month on the back of $5 comic books. That does not seem like a good investment, you know, for talent.
Nope.
Yeah. But thanks for breakfast, Marvel. Had bacon and eggs. It was good.
It was really good. Bacon was really crispy. Really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was really good. It was good.
I liked it a lot.
Okay.
It's my kind of bacon.
I could have used it a little bit less crisp, I think.
Oh, disagree. Anyway, aside from bacon, we've mentioned that we have a thing coming up called Champions Day on Sunday, April 21st, with Marty and Sarah from Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. And I don't know what we've said about it before, but rather than us talk about it, here are Marty and Sarah talking about it.
Sarah, we got some fun shows coming up. We are going to be doing an event at Challengers, Comics and Conversations, one of our favorite stores in the city of Chicago. And we are doing not just any show, we are doing a kids show.
Champions Day.
That's right. Marty and Sarah present Champions Day at Challengers Comics.
And we're doing that in accordance with, obviously it's at Challengers, so sponsored by Challengers, which
That's
is
right.
where you may have heard them. They accept packages for us
That they
from you
do.
buddies. But it's also in conjunction with Trism Books.
Yes.
If you don't know Trism Books, you should.
You do, even though you don't know it.
They've put out Wrestling Dreams and The
Yes.
Young Bucks Stand Tall, and soon to be released a new Cody book.
That's right.
And we're going to be doing an event that celebrates Wrestling Dreams and Young Bucks Stand Tall specifically. You can find it on Facebook, on either Challengers Comics and Conversations page. We'll post it on our page too and across our social media. Basically, the event is geared toward families. So, an admission ticket for 4, which, hey, make your own family if you want to make a family and come see us do a live family-friendly show. It's $20, but it gets you one of the 2 books, Wrestling Dreams or Young Bucks Stand Tall. Also gets you a little big guy zine. It gets you a bookmark. It gets you a free comic from Challengers. All sorts of stuff.
A lot more.
We have a lot of activities planned. And if you're not able to come, you're not going to be there. I believe we will be filming the live show. So,
Nice.
There will be a way to watch it. TBD.
There you go. Also, if you're a kid at heart, you're still allowed to come.
Yeah, and also I'm encouraging people who show up, hey, dress as your champion, whether that's a
Yeah.
wrestler, a superhero,
Ooh.
one of your parents.
I love
just, get in the spirit because I think the stars are going to be out for this one.
I love it.
Wow, so not only was Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks on this episode,
Yeah.
so Marty and Sarah.
Did you record that when you were at the Marty and Sarah photo op? Was that just in your pocket the whole time?
Yeah, in my pocket the whole time.
Wow.
Perfect. Well, normally this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcast Network here in Chicago. I don't know how much we talked about business per se.
We got around to it.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
It counts.
We filled our quota.
Hey, thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.